it's a shocking thing. Selling women's shoes is shocking. Like, first of all women lie about the size of their foot.
You got this idea to be like a DJ, like a bar mitzvah DJ, wedding DJ, Sweet 16 DJ, right? You play records and what? Like,
well, I had. It started first where there was this bar in Kansas City called Studebaker's.
No,
it was like a 50s bar,
right? And
I was trying to find a job waiting tables, but I had really long hair.
Right.
I was probably about 18, and I didn't want to cut my hair, and so I went in and they said, I was looking for this like a job as a waiter or barback, and they weren't hiring. I said, what about DJs? Because I saw they had a DJ booth. They go, well, actually, yeah. And then they would do these things called show times, where every hour you had to stand on the bar and do like hand jive, like one of those cheese ball kinds of things. But I wound up auditioning to DJ.
Did you know anything about music? Did you know what to play?
I knew like some 50s music. Yeah, right. I had a pretty good idea of the music to play, but
because you got to get people up and dancing, isn't that your job?
Yeah. But this was a bar that thankfully I didn't have to try and get people up and dancing so much at this kind of place.
Right.
But I wound up having to wear like a 50s pompadour wig because I wouldn't cut my hair and they wanted me to look. It was just sucked.
You must have looked really cool.
But then, really cool.
Like an Elvis wig?
Like an Elvis wig. But then when I moved from Kansas, because I was in Kansas, when I moved to go to acting school, I needed a job on the weekends. And so I thought, all right, you know what? I have DJ experience.
Right.
So then I got hired with a company that would do like weddings and bar mitzvahs and things like that. Yeah.
So that you were the guy. You were the wedding and
for about a year.
Wow. And I guess that teaches you something. It's better than, I guess, being a waiter and having to earn a living while you go to acting school.
I did that.
At least
too.
you're performing.
But I mean, yeah. But it was also a real. I mean, where it was.
What was your character's name? Donnie the Dweeb or something?
Well, I had it was a job that I didn't love it that much, and I always felt a little bit like, oh God, I got a bit of a douche. I'm like trying to get these kids out on the floor, and yes, that was where I got to keep the party going.
Yeah.
And then I remember I had 2 bar mitzvahs in one day. And it was on the second bar mitzvah, hour 18 or whatever, and I just lost it. And I was dancing with these kids, and I started dancing just like a freak, and mocking the entire thing. But they thought, the kids thought I was funny. Yeah. And so they kind of cleared the dance floor a little bit, and my boss got on the mic and said, "Hey, it's Donnie Dweeb."
Oh, and that became you.
And then I was like, "Oh God, I can't bail on this, so I have to do it."
Oh no!
And then the following week, there was like another bar mitzvah, and these kids said, "Hey, are you the guy that does the dork dance?"
That became your thing.
It became your thing.
And then it became, and honestly, it became my thing that I hated to do. But then I would get requests, and if I got a request to DJ a party, I'd get an extra $100.
So you get to New York, because I want to make this point, because people think this shit happens overnight, and it doesn't.
Oh.
It doesn't. It's hard.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of, and it's not really luck, it's a lot of hard work.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
So you come to New York to be a dancer, you're living on some guy's couch.
Yeah, but that only lasted for like 5 days max.
So how do you make money?
Well, I got a I went to start going to auditions, and I got into some dance companies, got a partial scholarship to the Elvin Ailey School, and then I started just making little bits of money, and then I was taking shit jobs. I did everything. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts. I was the hat check girl.
Did you get fired from Dunkin' Donuts in one day?
No, I think I stayed there for maybe a week.
Were you fired because you squirted jelly over everyone?
I was playing with the jelly squirter machine, yeah.
And they just got pissed off at you?
Yeah.
Had you played your card right, you could have been a manager at Dunkin' Donuts.
I could be running. I could be the CEO of Dunkin' Donuts.
So some guy comes up and says, "Hey, you're fired because you're not taking the job seriously."
That's right.
Right.
Well, you know what I got fired for at the Russian Tea Room? I was a very good hat check girl, I must say. I got fired for wearing fishnets.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I'm like, but you can't even see my legs. I'm behind a door.
Because they told you not to wear fishnets. But it's your nature to say, "Fuck you, I'm going to wear fishnets."
Well, it's just my nature to do the opposite of what people tell me to do.
Even if it's going to cost you a job and you have no money.
I didn't know they were going to fire me.
Right.
It was just like a code, like a dress code.
Did you explain to them you were Madonna?
I wasn't Madonna then.
Oh,
I mean, I was, but not like
they didn't recognize it.
they didn't see the future.
When you decided to do American Idol, you were working. You had been on cruise ships for Disney. Was it the Hercules show?
I did Hercules, the musical, where I played Calliope the head music, and I sang the Circle of Life soloist. So it was 2 shows, like, was it back? 2 days, like Tuesday and Wednesday.
So your career was one where things were happening. You were starting to make some money because, I mean, Disney was paying you.
Yes, they were.
And when
that
you're
was legit.
Yeah.
That was legit.
Disney is real. That's what
Disney is real, honey.
Is that your first real paycheck in the business?
Actually, no. My first real paycheck in the business. So before then, I worked at Burger King, right? That was my job. And I used to sing in the drive-thru, right?
Did you really sing in the drive-thru?
Yeah. I used to sing in the because it was a mic, honey.
Yeah.
It was a mic. So that was my stage.
So let's say I pull up, I go, I'd like to have 2 fries.
And you just, I don't know what I would be singing, but you would hear my mouth just singing away, and they'll pull up, and they're like, who is, and then the beep, you knew a car was coming because it would beep, 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 and my sister, she was like the queen of Burger King, and she used to fuss at me, do your job, you know, you don't know what you're doing, but I just wanted to sing a song. So I was singing there, and somehow, like, the head manager of Burger King was a club promoter too.
Oh.
So he started to hire me to sing at his clubs. And I started making more money singing one night at the club than I did for 2 weeks at Burger King, burning my face on the boiler and all of that stuff. And I was like,
how long were you at Burger King?
dang, that's a good question.
Was it months or years?
I know the first job, the first time I worked there, I was 16.
Right.
But then I quit.
Right.
Because it was just not for me. And then I eventually went back, and I think I was there maybe a year or 2.
It's hard work, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
Yes.
And what did you make fries? Did you do everything?
Yeah, the second time around. The first time I couldn't do nothing right.
Right.
But the second time, yes, I used to do all the burgers and the fries, but mainly working the drive-thru and singing.
But isn't it great
At the
that
drive-thru.
here you were at Burger King, of course, gave you an opportunity to make a couple of bucks. But isn't it great that sort of you got discovered and started working in clubs because the guy at Burger King recognized
What a
you?
lucky break.
No,
Yeah.
it was.
And isn't this a lesson in a sense that wherever you are, sing if you want to be a singer, and who knows, and do your best job, even if you're at Burger King, and maybe somebody will discover you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Back then, you know.
Because you don't even know who might be driving through.
Right, you don't know. And even, like, I have people singing to me today. You know, I'll be like, oh, Lord, they thinking like I was thinking back then. They're like, ooh.
Every time you walk
off in
by,
the
they
corner, and I'll
start
be
singing.
like, oh, my God. I was just like that.
Do they do that to you? Do people come up and sort of audition and
No,
say,
they'll just be, like, wandering around where they're close enough so you hear them.
yeah.
Yeah.
You were a young guy. One of the jobs you had, I don't think we ever talked about this, you were a Santa Claus in a store, right?
Really?
Yeah. Now where did you do that?
I just moved to San Diego.
San Diego.
What you know, I always figured just like perverts take those jobs so they can get kids on their lap.
We were talking about that yesterday. Is there a school or?
Yeah, I mean that whole Santa business is something else. I mean, some guys just that's all they live for is Christmas. These older guys, they grow the beards out. You know,
It seems like it'd be a good job though. Do you get paid a decent amount
it's
of money?
not a good job.
Why is it bad?
Well, for me, I was 23 at the time, 24.
Right.
Thin, you know, I look like a kid. I should have been sitting on Santa's lap. You know?
Yeah, you were barely a man.
And I was in San Diego. I just moved out from Connecticut to
Right.
get into stand-up, and I wanted to check out San Diego first. And so my buddy and I worked for Manpower, temporary help agency. So we had a lot of like part-time jobs, you know. And they were everything from like cleaning out warehouses to,
Right.
you know, pulling weeds out of parking lots.
Whatever work you could grab for the day.
Whatever you could do, and you didn't need a lot. You just needed enough to pay, you know, the hotel or whatever. And so we got a job working at Santa Claus's. They asked for 2 months, and I worked in the Sears department store in North Park in San Diego.
But you probably say to yourself, "Hey, this beats clearing out a warehouse. All
Oh,
I got to
yeah.
do is sit here and just talk to these kids."
Oh yeah, and you're a star. Here comes Santa Claus.
Right.
You know,
You got the beard. You have the fat suit.
belly, yeah.
we had a little stuffing in there, about as much as for Hans and Franz.
You're like a skinny Santa.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
And it was just like a cotton beard. It was so cheap, and they were really cutting so many corners. And basically, it's to make money on taking pictures.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that's where they make the money in the photo department. And a lot of the kids from Tijuana would come over.
Really?
And a lot of them were scared, and they would pee on your lap.
Are you shitting me?
No,
piss
they would
in your
piss
lap?
on your lap. But,
Jesus.
But I think the Santa agency knew of this, that would happen, so they Scotch guarded all their clothes, so the pee would just bubble up and roll off the leg.
Is that true?
Yeah.
You're not making this up.
No.
You're telling me they treated the Santa Claus outfits with special Scotch guarding so that the pee, because they knew. They
Beat
knew.
it up and rolled off.
Howard, I'm telling you that they sprayed these suits with the Scotch guard.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
This is huge.
This is news.
This is
Am I
going to
say this? This is you've just broken news that no one ever realized. So when you get out of college, because you say fuck college, you were doing it on a football scholarship. There's no point to play football and go to school if you don't want to go to school. Like
Right.
you only go to school if you want to. And you get out and you're doing, you're framing houses like the old man. You're doing some construction, right? $7.75 an hour and all this. And did things look bleak to you at that point? Because what are you, about 19 years old?
I kind of, I was definitely like freaking out. Like, what am I going to do with my life? Because I'm not playing football anymore. And that was kind of the only goal.
And you're not going to school?
Yeah, definitely not going to go to school. So I guess in my mind, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to get a job and work my way up somewhere and figure it out. I didn't have any grand plans or anything.
And then the grand plan becomes, I'm going to sell samples at Dillard's. Like, what are samples? Like
what is
perfume?
Dillard's?
Yeah, and what is Dillard's? It sounds like a real good plan you had going there.
In my infinite knowledge,
So would you walk up to women in the department store?
I was the guy chasing you like with like the little piece of paper or whatever that you
With the
spray and then you give it to him.
Oh my goodness!
What a horrible fucking
it
job.
was terrible. It was horrible. And basically, I was just hungover the whole time in there anyway. And you guys can't understand what the lights of Dillard's do and like what the music that they play inside of that thing when like you're just so hungover and you want to go home.
Were you hired because, look, you're doing this, you're trying to figure out your life, and then you see an ad. And the ad says, "Hey, make $19 an hour as an exotic dancer," right? Is that the ad?
Something like they were just
right.
they didn't tell how much money, which if I'd have known, I probably wouldn't have went in. But
because it's not that much money.
It's not that much money.
I mean,
really
guys
isn't.
don't make what female strippers
No,
make.
not even. Well, it's one of the only jobs that it doesn't happen like that, and I picked that. So
You
that
picked
shows
the
you
one
how
career
smart
with
I am.
men.
Yeah,
Porn
genius.
and stripping. Yes.
But like that's a big deal to decide I'm going to go be a male stripper, right? I mean, but like guys will go, "Hey, that's great," but meanwhile, going up on a stage and taking off your fucking clothes. Do you have to show your cock?
No, but you basically see it. I mean,
Because
you
it's through
basically
You see
it's not-
everything but
there's no
the real
there's very
skin,
little to the imagination. Like,
What is it like when you're a kid? I guess you were about, what, 20 years old, 19 years old? When
I was
you
19.
19.
Yeah.
What is it like when you see this ad and you go in for your audition? Who's auditioning? You probably think you're probably going to be killed or sold off.
I mean, I was 19, had a sister, went in. My sister was not happy about it. She even showed up the first night to try to shame me out of going on. I mean, she was super unhappy.
But were you like a guy who danced a lot and everything?
Yeah, that's kind of the whole reason why I went in.
Yeah.
I wasn't big. Like I wasn't like really big. I was kind of like more just skinny and I don't know, could dance. That was it.
Were there actual dancers that wouldn't change their routine, like took it that seriously?
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't change them because they were theirs. They just, I don't know. They basically would change them because they knew they worked.
Right.
They convinced me to go out and do a clown routine one night. And I think I just got picked on when I was like, because I was like the kid and the youngest, dumbest one.
Do you put on a bozo?
Which is hard to do.
Do you put on a bozo wig and nose and the whole thing?
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean,
How is that sexy?
No, exactly.
Right.
I was like, guys, this is gonna fucking terrify them. You gotta understand, like this is not gonna work. And I'm come out with balloons and fucking big old red feet and everything.
How is that good?
How are you getting sexy?
I came out to 99 Red Balloons, look at the song or something, and you could just, even though the song was playing, you could tell that everyone wanted to run out of the place.
Yeah.
And then I think I just took my shit off, and then like no one clapped, and then I was like, okay,
Wow.
well, that's it. For now on, I'm doing my own routines from now on.
For 10 years, you're doing the shittiest jobs in LA. What was the list of jobs that you did in LA that just to make a living?
Well, I do want to clarify one because people always ask me if I worked at a hot dog cart. And
Yes, I've heard that.
It's
You did
very
not.
different. I worked at a hot dog restaurant.
Oh, well, I didn't realize.
It's very different. Well, no, it was actually this little, whenever I describe it, it sounds crazy.
I've never heard
it was
of
like a
just
little,
hot
it was,
dogs.
what was it? It was in Beverly Hills and it was like a gourmet hot dog place. And actually one of the first celebrities that I ever met was John Lovitz and he came in there.
And that hot dog.
I made him a hot dog.
Is that why in the new movie you make hot dog soup?
I like the salt. I like the hot dog.
Maybe that's a subconscious.
That's what you did. You wrote it.
Maybe.
Yeah. When Lovitz walks in and he's a fan of your hot dogs, does he hit on you? Because, John was probably saying he didn't.
No, but I remember he's not even going to know this story. He came in and I remember he came in and he had just bought like a new camera or something. And he was just kind of like figuring it out. And we were like talked about it. And then, but I was freaking out because when I first got to LA, like I remember the very first celebrity I saw was Joey Buttafuoco in a CVS.
Wow. Did he hit on you?
That was my first sighting. No, it was my first sighting.
Yeah. Right.
And John Lovitz was soon after. And I was so excited.
Where'd you grow up?
Iowa.
I mean, you had some shit jobs, right?
I had some bad jobs.
You mowed lawns. Everybody's done that.
I was a dishwasher in a kitchen. I worked in a supermarket deli.
You were always industrious.
I was a roofer for a while.
How the hell did you get all these jobs? I mean, how do you go from roofing?
My dad had a construction company. My stepdad had a construction company. And so when I was like 9 years old, I was on a construction site, like cleaning up. And I just always got told that you got to work your way through life, and if you don't work, what are you going to get? And we didn't have a lot of money, so if I actually wanted to buy things for me, I had to go make money. So I always had a job since I was 12.
But when you were in high school, you were a football player, right?
Yeah, I played football.
And you never missed a game. One game you missed.
I missed one play.
You missed one play.
I threw up on the field. They made me get off the field.
Because the guy kicked you in the stomach, right?
Yeah, well, I tackled a guy and got a foot in the gut.
But you were that guy. Like, you did choir, you did acting, you were in the acting society, you did wrestling, you did track.
Yeah. And then I went to work.
And then what age did they say, all of a sudden you're in high school, someone says, hey, you ought to go be a model?
Not in high school. I went to college, and then I was going to the University of Iowa, and I was in a bar, and this woman, Mary Clark, who was a model scout in Iowa, of all places, came into me and was like, have you ever thought of even being a model? I was like, no, I thought about being an actor. And she's like, well, it's a good way to be an actor. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
And so I won a contest, and I moved to New York, and I had $100 in my pocket.
What kind of contest?
A modeling contest.
You mean like they submit?
They set up a thing in a shopping mall, and I walked from like here to the other side of the room and back.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I won a trip.
Against other good-looking dudes.
Against other good-looking dudes.
And you win.
And I won.
You know, I was in that contest and they threw stones at me. Did you know that? Yeah. I still twitch from it. So wait a second. So you won that contest. How many dudes were in that contest?
I have no idea.
And what do you wear? Like just
I had like blue jeans and a t-shirt on.
Like you don't have to wear a bathing suit or anything.
No,
Holy fuck.
So then I came to New York for another contest, which I got like second place. Josh Duhamel won the contest.
That's a good-looking dude.
Handsome son of a
Josh
bitch.
Duhamel, yeah. Well, did you hate him?
I was so fucking upset at this guy for so long. And then finally I ran into him. I was like, all right, you're good looking.
Right.
I had to give it up. Like, right? So anyways, right.
So you come in second, which isn't bad. In New York, I mean, it's a little more difficult.
I was like, so.
I like that you lost to Josh Duhamel.
Yeah,
good. A little adversity is good.
It's good. Coming in second, the story of the life.
When you're growing up in New Jersey, was your dream always to be a stand-up comedian?
No, that was like my worst nightmare.
What did you want to be?
I think I just wanted like people to hear what I had to say. Like I thought my opinion was very valuable at a very young age. And because I'm the youngest of 6, you just have to scream and yell to get heard. So that was definitely, a part of the...
Were you a loudmouth?
Yeah, I mean...
And you would mouth off about everything. Did you ever go up on a stage and do stand-up for a career?
Yeah.
Was that your start?
Yeah, that's how I started, yeah.
And you'd go up and you'd do your thing and you'd talk. Were you good at it?
I got good at it. I mean, yeah, in the beginning I had an easier time. I think if it had been more difficult in the beginning, I would have probably given up more easily. But I had an easy time, and then I went through the rough patch, like, a year into it, where I would bomb all the time.
You mean the first time you got up, you were good at it?
Well, I mean, I had like 15 friends in the audience too, so.
But where did you do that? Where did you go the first time?
The Improv on Melrose, and then the Laugh Factory.
Was it like, oh my God, I got to go do this. I better go take 50 drinks and get up on that stage.
Yeah,
How old were you?
I had to have like 8 margaritas. 20.
You were 20 years old, and you walked up on a stage for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have stuff written down that you were going to talk about?
Yeah.
And you were really well thought out about this. And who inspired all of this in you? Was there some person or some comedian that you looked up to?
No, I didn't want to do stand-up. It was just kind of like my
What else to do?
I was auditioning and I was reading these people's lines. You know, you go into auditions and everyone's skinnier and prettier, and I'm like, I'm Jewish, and I'm never gonna be like a supermodel type girl, and I just didn't even have any interest in that. I just thought I wanted something where I could express my opinions and my point of view without anyone kind of editing me.
And what do you mean you were auditioning? You were going out and trying to get on TV
act?
shows?
Yeah, like to be an actress. Yeah, to go. And I was a terrible auditioner. I mean, I couldn't even. I mean, that situation was way more uncomfortable than going on stage where you could just do what you wanted, and then if you don't get laughs, you act like that was on purpose.
Did you begin to lose faith in yourself because you'd go out and audition for TV shows or commercials or whatever the hell? And did you begin to say, maybe I'm not a performer?
Yeah, all the time. I was like, oh my God, what if because I was waiting tables for 6 or 7 years. And
where?
Oh my God, everywhere. A place called Roasty, Shia Venice, everywhere in LA. And I got fired from every job I ever had.
Why? Because you didn't listen to authority?
Because I would go off on people. Like if I didn't like if someone.
The customers?
The customers and my managers.
Right.
Like my manager was this cokehead, and he would just run it. And it was like this luncheon place. It wasn't even appropriate to be doing cocaine at that time of day. And he was just.
in front of the help.
Yeah. And he'd be running around, he was like this Italian guy. He was like, he was clearly jacked.
So tweaked.
Yeah, and I just went off on him. I was like, can you just wait and do coke till when it gets dark out?
You can't tell your boss when to do coke.
A regular person.
Right.
Or I would go off on people if they left me crappy tips. I'd be like, you're an asshole. And, because, you'd have big parties, and people don't understand this in anywhere in tipping. And this is why I'm very sensitive to it, because I tip like 500% when I go out, because I know what it's like.
Right.
And you'd go, I had a table of these guys, and you always know it's bad when they start out like, we're going to take care of you. We got you tonight. Don't worry about us. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Means you're getting maybe 20% if you're lucky. There's not going to be anything over. Right.
And so we had these guys, and I was at this restaurant, Shia Venice, in Venice, California, and he said, and this guy said that, and it was like an $800 bill. It ended up being like a bar tab. I worked in the bar, and it was a bar. It was a really nice restaurant bar. And so you have to pay taxes on that, especially when they pay with a credit card. You have to pay. People don't know that the waitress has to pay like 8% of that. So if you're not even tipping me 8%, I'm basically paying for you to go out to dinner.
Wow.
And so
I didn't know that.
Yes. So you have to pay a portion of your sales that are not in cash.
Right.
So the guys, he got money. I saw him collecting money from his whole group. And then, on $800, he tipped me like $10.
Wow.
And I went right up to him in front of everyone. And I was like, and his last name was some Jewish thing. And I was like, listen, it's Jews like you that give Jews like me a bad name.
Right.
And I said, just so you all know, he tipped me $10, took your money, tipped me $10 on $800, and probably pocketed the rest. So have a great night, and congratulations on your friend.
And you got fired for that. Well, yeah, I guess so. But yeah, you have a good point. In fact, I've gone to dinner with friends who I look over and I see what they're tipping, and I go, I would rather just pay the bill so I can give the waiter a decent tip.
Absolutely. I don't trust some of the people that I dine with to do the right thing by tipping. So people are always like, Chelsea, you have to stop paying. And I'm like, I'd rather settle this. And I don't like people talking about spending money, like paying, like, I'll get this, you get that. It's like, just someone pay.
Just somebody pay.
I'm not splitting it. I'm not 8, okay? We don't need to split this.
I've done some really terrible TV shows. I did one show where I played an undercover cop on a Harley during the day and a rock star at night. It was called Sunset Beat. And I'd gotten the job, but I didn't know how to play the guitar. And there'd be like a full concert of 8,000 people out there, and be up there pretending to play guitar. I don't even know how to move my hands,
During those 14 years or something, did you ever say, geez, I got to give this up. I got to find something else?
The truth of the matter is, the first 2 years, I was broke. I was sleeping on the floor of a closet, and I didn't have a car. I rode a bicycle all around Hollywood for auditions, and and I did construction work and a lot of sort of other jobs to get by. But once I started working, I was making, enough money that I didn't have to take another job. So I always felt like, I'm a journeyman actor. I'm just going to keep plugging away, and, hopefully I'll get some good roles as I go. I didn't think I was going to get as late. I was 35 when it hit. So
just amazing. I mean, because you were doing like Facts of Life, Golden Girls. You were on Roseanne. I remember when you said you were doing that gig.
You don't feel like I should give it up, because honestly, what was I going to give it up? I'd go back and sell ladies' shoes. That's, by the way, let me just say that it's a shocking thing. being in the selling women's shoes is shocking. Like, first of all women lie about the size of their foot. I don't know why.
That is so true. They don't want to be seen with big feet.
This is a 7, and you go, this is a 10. You know, and you're trying to jam this 10 into a 7.
Right.
And there was a whole generation of these women. This is like 1979, 1980. And I was working at this department store. And there was a whole generation of women who probably were born like in 1910 or something. That got their fourth toe cut off.
Right.
So they could fit into the pumps.
Really?
Their toes would fit. And one of your other jobs was they had this wooden shoehorn, and it was like a Mr. Potato Head, had all these holes in it with a plastic corn.
I remember those.
And they would come in, and I'd have to spread blue powder on their corn.
What a horrible job.
Put the shoe on, and then go in and look, and then put the corn and stretch a cornhole.
What you're saying, George, is that when you're on the set of the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, you're going, this is fantastic. I am not putting powder on corns.
When I'm sandpapering my bat nipples off, I'm still going, I'm good, man.